Hello everyone. We all have heard about different chips being used in our mobile phones and laptops. For example, Intel and Snapdragon. Same chips are being used in automotive sector. Due to various reasons, currently we are experiencing shortage in supply of these chips, which is causing a panic among automakers. These are the few recent articles regarding the same. For example, Ford Motor Company is curbing production of its biggest money maker, that is F-150 pickup trucks, due to shortage of these chips. Also, there have been various news articles saying that General Motors and other leading manufacturers of automobiles are curbing production again due to shortage of these chips. So let's first try to understand the meaning and usage of these chips. Chips are basically components present on the motherboard, which act as a communication center and traffic controllers. For example, when we open an application in our mobile phones, the instructions for the same are floated with the help of these chips. We all can very well imagine the usage of chips in companies like Tesla. But to understand the importance of these chips in basic cars, I have picked a few components where the chips are being used. These are tuners, basically the radios, speedometers, and reverse parking assist system. These are a few very basic areas where the chips are being used in economical cars. However, it is worth noting that the profitable models of various manufacturers are very much dependent upon chips. So here are the few leading chip manufacturers present around the world. TSMC, one of the largest chip maker based in Taiwan, which is supplying chips to Apple, that is A13 chip which is being used in iPhone 12, are very much supplied by TSMC. Similarly, Intel being one of the largest supplier of chips in laptops, and Qualcomm being one of the largest supplier in Android mobile phones. Here are few examples of chip supplier to particular automotive sector. Texas Instruments based in United States, NXP and Infineon based in Europe, Samsung from South Korea and ROHM from Japan. Moving ahead, let's try to understand the consumption patterns of these chips. These chips are mostly used in communication devices and computers, which in total take 60% of the supplies. Then comes the appliances, which are becoming smart nowadays. For example, washing machine, refrigerator, etc. It approximately consumes 15% of the manufacturing outcomes of the chips. Lastly comes the industrial and automotive sector, which consumes only 10 to 15% of the supplies each. Having said that, it is very well understood that chip industry is not much dependent upon automotive sector. However, as a recent survey of Deloitte, approximately 60% of the total car cost is dependent upon chips. Now let's come to the concern point of automakers. That is, no long-term visibility of chip supplies. The chip makers are giving supplies on allocation basis to various users. But why? Well, that's the question I'm going to answer in next two slides. Let's initiate by trying to understand the root cause of the problem. The root cause is higher lead times. That is minimum of 6 to 8 months. In other words, chip manufacturers need at least 6 to 8 months of time to adjust any demand fluctuation. Everything was going under control 1 year ago. Chip makers were able to fulfill demand from various sectors. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, which halted the demand for cars. Also, an unprecedented surge in demand was observed for new personal computers, smart TVs, laptops, consumer electronics, and computer games, all of which needed chips. On one hand, the demand from auto sector was diminishing, and on the other hand, the demand from consumer electronics skyrocketed. To avoid unnecessary inventory and as a part of cost savings, automakers cancelled the existing orders with the chip manufacturers. Thereby, chip makers diverted their capacities to non-auto segment due to no or low orders from auto segment during pandemic. Also, not to forget that the chip production was shut down due to pandemic in China and Taiwan, which are two dominant chip producing nations. This further worsened the situation. Speaking about the problem, now let's discuss the countermeasures taken by various automobile manufacturers. First comes the foresightedness. that is, releasing advanced volume projections for complete FY 21-22 to vendors for better planning with Tier 2 vendors. Secondly is weekly reviews with the critical vendors and close monitoring of the stocks. Third is development of part with alternate semiconductor suppliers. Lastly is seeking faster approvals of alternate sources with the support of engineering. Here are the few industry solutions being talked about in the news nowadays. As we observe that no major production of chips is manufacturing or happening in India, the government is aiming to make India self-reliant in the field of chips as well. Automakers like Tata Motors are also looking for alternatives. Well, I hope the previous slides would have been able to give an overview of the global chip fiasco. In case anyone has any question regarding same, I would more than happy to take the same. Thank you once again for joining in and being a part of this session.